My name's Dave DeBow, founder of MoneyPartnerFormula.com, and this show is built for everyday real estate investors who are actively doing deals and looking to scale using other people's money. So if you're an active real estate investor and you want to get featured on this show to talk about your own real estate and capital raising experiences, then just go to daveinterviewyou.com. Now let's get rolling with this episode, and remember to subscribe for daily interview content.
All right, guys, welcome to Property Profits Podcast. I'm your host, Bryce Kaminsky, filling in for Dave Dubois. And have you ever wondered how a Chicagoan frugal's choice to escape rent transformed into a real estate success story? Today, my guest, Jonathan Klemm from the Windy City, not only turned his first property into a triumph, but also made a bold career shift from a high-paying job to a property technology startup and now contracting. Stay tuned as we explore his journey of the live-in flip, house hacking, and how he's learned using his leveraged experience in real estate to grow his thriving general contracting company. Jonathan, welcome to the show. Great to have you here.
Yeah, Bryce, thank you so much. Super grateful to be here and hop on the podcast to kind of share some of my experiences to hopefully help some of your listeners.
Yeah, it was quite a mouthful, that intro, because you've done this and that and the other. And you know, before the show, we were talking about where you are and where you're going. And you said, right now, my main focus is the contracting company, but you don't end up in contracting without, well, probably having some bad experiences with contractors, but ultimately understanding that business is really a part of understanding real estate at its base. So let's go right back to the beginning of the real estate journey. How did you get started? What drove you into the real estate business?
Yeah, great question, Bryce. And yeah, for people who haven't had a background in contracting, it's not a industry that most people want to be a part of, to be honest, because it's got a bad stigma. And for me, I started out as a general contractor. I worked for one of the largest general contractors in the country, traveling around for my W-2 job and working on projects $100 million plus.
Yeah.
And it really ended up being because of my stinginess and cheapness that I fell into real estate, because I knew I just didn't want to pay rent anymore. And I ended up buying my first property while traveling for work in Louisville through auction.com of all things, and did
Yeah.
a live and flip there.
So you moved in, fixed it up, and then eventually, I guess, sold the property off.
Yeah, so I moved in, fixed it up. I lived there 2 out of the last 5 years, so I didn't have to pay any capital gains tax. I ended up moving back to Chicago, buying another 2-unit building here with a vacant lot, did a gut renovation on that building, and then ended up doing a ground up single family house on the north side of Chicago.
Interesting. Yeah, Chicago has some interesting real estate, and it's such a big area in that old houses, but also like you'd consider like there's Chicago, and then there's the greater Chicagoland area, which is pretty much almost the whole state right along right along there. I remember driving through the interstate in Chicago, and you know how busy a city is, or how big a city is, by how many lanes the main interstate has. And I think you guys have like 6 or 7 lanes on both ways. So it's probably something like 10 million people in that metro area. So how do you decide, how did you decide where to do business in that area?
Yeah, for me, I knew I needed to be kind of in the metro area. Chicago Metro, like you said, has about 3 million, and then Chicagoland, could be anywhere up to 10 million, like you said. But for us, I knew Chicago was the right place to come back to, just because of the plethora of inventory of small multifamily properties. So you think 2 to 4 units, we just have probably more than any other large metropolitan city. And the best part about it is most of those properties were built in the early 1900s. So on top of having a ton of multifamily, we have a ton of old inventory that needs to be renovated. And so it makes a great place to start a renovation business.
It's like the classic, because Cleveland too. I've worked out in Cleveland, and it's like the porch over porch with the rear staircase walk up, and it's like a 2-bed, 1-bath with like living room, dining room, and a tiny kitchen. And then they just stack 2 of them, and then it'll be 4 of them or something like that. So what are you seeing as far as because now you're in the business of fixing them. Um, Sometimes those things need a lot of work. I've been in some of them where you look at it and you say, other than the brick on the outside of this thing, the inside is collapsing. So how far do you go? What's the worst stuff you guys have had to deal with on the contracting side?
Yeah, for us, I always say more is better. And if you can get a cleaner slate, it's actually much easier to do the renovations. We found that
Mm-hmm.
when you're kind of trying to piecemeal properties back together, it actually makes it more difficult. So, we prefer a full gut renovation to the studs. That way we can put the parts back to the building, the way we want it, and
Mm-hmm.
not have to be tying into old corroded pipes or, duct
Yeah.
work that's already been there. So it's like that's always the way that we're pushing our clients is to do more, not because it's better for our business, but it's actually better for the investor as well, because, you're eliminating a lot of those CapEx expenditures that actually end up crushing you from a maintenance and repairs perspective if you, hold on to these properties and try to kind of put band-aids on them.
Yeah. If you're flipping them, maybe you're in and out. But if you're holding them, um, when the plumbing stack is like, well, maybe we should change the stack, or we're gonna just put a Fernco in there and just, like tie into it. Well, if it's already kind of starting to dissolve, it's probably dissolving from the inside out, and that thing's on its last legs. So it's probably time to do the stack from the ceiling all the way to the basement. So I like that. I like that mentality. So how does um how does the contracting and your real estate experience play together on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, that's probably one of the best questions you could have asked, because when I started out, I just said yes to everything. I quit
Mm-hmm.
my W-2 job to go work for a tech company, and we were in the prop tech space, property technology. So we did rent collection and maintenance for about
Mm-hmm.
2 years straight. I went to every networking event, meetup possible. And and then I tried every aspect of real estate we have. So I've done the short term, I've done the long term, I've done the fix and flip. I've done the 2 to 4 unit buildings. We did a 1031 exchange and bought a 19 unit building. And then we just recently bought into another 26 unit building. And through all of that, it still led me back to being a general contractor first. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a bad investor, but I'm a better contractor. And that's because all of the experiences I had working on mammoth jobs of 500 million, the systems and processes that are being used on that macro level are actually the exact same processes and systems you can use on the micro level in this small residential space. But it's not typical for general contractors to be using project management software, setting up a
Yeah.
schedule, giving daily reports. And these are all
Mm-hmm.
things that we're adding on to our business to grow with technology. And I think it's very common for industries that are the oldest, that often those are the ones that take the longest to change. And there's
Mm-hmm.
not many industries that have been around longer than construction. And so we're super excited to kind of be on the forefront. And, we're doing things that a lot of general other contractors aren't doing. Even on our website, we have an instant estimate feature where you can log in, you can put in the parameters of your house, say it's a 2 unit building. You can
Mm-hmm.
put in the square footage, you can put in it's a full renovation, and we pop out an instant estimate for you. And so these are the things that we're trying to get ahead of as much as possible and kind of lead the kind of small residential construction industry.
Yeah, I mean, especially when dealing with contractors, a lot of times the only update you get is when you go there yourself and take a look at the thing. And if you try to get them to use construction management software, I don't think it's going to load on their flip phone or whatever they're using. So either, it's kind of a low tech industry in itself. It's but you could definitely see the benefits with these other companies. Company Cam, I think, is one that I think that we've used in the past just for photos, like better updates, more information. I think can really set you apart from the vast majority of contractors who maybe will text you a picture off of their old phone. So it'll be like a potato photo, and you'll be like, I can't even see what this is. Like, yeah, that's the bathroom. What about it? So yeah, I really appreciate the work that you're doing as far as bringing some technology to the curve. So how does that play into, like, are you done with the real estate game, or are you going to start looking at more opportunities now that you have the contracting company? Because what ends up happening is it seems like in my experience that it's like you go this way and then you end up like you're following the multifamily path now, right?
Yeah, I mean, for me, focus has been my biggest struggle. And so now that I'm totally locked in on our contracting business, I'm complete tunnel vision on that. I can see, the writing on the walls as to where the business can grow to. Like we want to be a technology company like
Mm-hmm.
an Uber and a Lyft, where we're matching subcontractors and real estate investors together. You know,
Mm.
I when you look at the two sides of that marketplace, you know, so many times real estate investors are getting screwed by contractors. They're
Yeah.
overpaying, they're running away with the money. And just it's happened to me countless times,
Mm-hmm.
where, I am the general contractor and I'm still, getting hit with these change orders that were unexpected that I could have known about. And on the other side of the equation, you have the subcontractors, electricians, plumbers, carpenters. And these guys, they struggle with the scheduling, the
The
estimating, the
systems.
sales, the marketing. Those are the things that we're really good at. And
They're
so,
really good at using the saw and using the tools to strip the wires and to put the plumbings together. But yeah, it's sometimes even difficult to get an invoice out of them. Like, hey, I texted you the amount. It's just like a text and it says amount. It's like that's the invoice. You're like, I can't pay you that way. Can you just give me cash? It's like, okay. Um, yeah, that is a real challenge in the because we are dealing with too as investors. We're trying to find the most cost effective
mhm.
trades. And typically the most cost effective trades are the guys who are either doing it on the side or don't have a big company. So their invoices are usually like a bare minimum invoice, bare minimum effort in invoicing you. Um, and really just the communication. It's all just like, yeah, I'll bring my tools over in my minivan and I'll do that job for you on how's Thursday or Friday or maybe Saturday. Well, over the weekend, maybe and it's just like sometimes you have to pay a little more to get a little bit more service on the thing. So when it comes to these multi-family deals, are you then hiring people to work on those sites, or are you guys taking those deals, fixing them up?
Yeah, so we're complete third party general contractors. So, you as an investor is gonna hire us, and we're gonna bring in our subs and our crews to go knock it out. I
Mm-hmm.
always say that, you get the triangle of quality, speed, and cost, and I think as an investor, you have to evaluate what's going to fit your deal structure. And I think at the end of the day, like you want a balance of everything. You want something that's going to be a quality product more than anything, just because if you have a quality product, it's either going to sell faster or rent faster at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so I think, the smartest investors are looking for long-term partners and understand that, hey, you might have to pay a little bit more to find a solid general contractor. But once you find them, you're able to scale because you're not having to manage them because
Mm-hmm.
they're doing their job and managing the project. You can go do what you're really good at, which is finding more deals, and let them do what we're really good at, which is
Mm-hmm.
managing projects.
Yeah, making sure that the biggest thing that I like about um, good contractors is that they take it over the finish line. A lot of times, the biggest challenge that, especially in the flipping business, is at the finish line when you're getting towards the end
Yep.
and maybe the draws have run out and the contractor's a little bit dry on his bank accounts, but he still has a week worth of work to do, which ends up being, oh, well, I got to go take this other job because I'm out of cash on this job, and it keeps rolling like that. So I think the biggest quality of a contractor is like, can they complete the job in a timely fashion without it getting like progress, stalled, close. You know, that's been one of the biggest challenges, is just getting them over the last 10%. So how do you guys make sure that with the work that you're doing, with the business that you're running, that you're able to deliver? You can't always deliver all three, but how do you figure out what's most important to your customer and then deliver it?
Yeah, I mean, we're finding a healthy balance of all three. So we know we're not the cheapest. We of course take pride in quality, and we're not going to walk away if the customer isn't happy at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
And we're doing things as fast as we can. So we're tracking when people aren't on site, because we know as soon as people are on site, that's when red flags are getting raised that
Mm-hmm.
the project is slowing down. But like you kind of point out, the hardest part is usually the beginning and the end. For us, we do a final walkthrough with all of our clients. We do a blue tape walkthrough, and then we set up
Yeah,
a
the blue tape.
final punch list in our project management software with pictures assigned to each one of our subcontractors, and it's just as clear as day what has to be completed. And we just hold them to the fire. And like you said, a lot of the contractors, you're robbing Peter to pay Paul, and that's the difference with a contractor who's working on their business and not in their business, is that they're actually managing the people and the business opposed to the business managing them.
Yeah, they're like in there. I remember we were doing this one job, and I was subbing it out, and I was on the job doing the thing and subbing these guys out, and I went to the third floor and also doing my own like blue tape, and I go up there, and it was like mostly blue tape versus the white walls. Like I was like, what was I doing? Like I know it was late, but like who did the plaster work up here? And it was me. And I was like, oh yeah, I gotta go back up there and do it. The blue tape all over every room, which is like I think that's a great tip too for people that are in that maybe self-managing or maybe dealing with a contractor. Like don't be afraid to go into your job and throw some blue tape up, because that's the universal sign for look at this. Like
Yeah,
come over
exactly.
here, bring your intellect, and there's a blue thing, and like look at that and tell me what you see, right? And that's, I think, something that early on people don't, they're expecting that the contractor is going to do that, and sometimes they do, but as the project person that you're like, let's say you hired a contractor, don't be afraid to go to Home Depot and buy some blue tape and start throwing out blue tape on their job site too, because at the end of the job, at the end of the day, when you pay for that thing, you want to, that's like the easiest way to communicate to contractors in the trades business is like, I went in the job site yesterday and I put some blue tape on it. When you're there tomorrow, let me know what you think. Give me a call. And you don't have to be on site necessarily when you're communicating with visual cues, even at the most basic level. Like maybe you don't have a contractor who's super tech savvy, but the blue tape is the universal sign for look at that. So, what other ways are you making sure that the quality stays? Because you're right. If you do a good job on your flip, on your project, well, a couple of things, you're going to get a higher price, it's going to sell faster, it's going to rent faster. You might get a higher refi amount because they're really impressed with the quality of the product. So,
Mhm.
what are some other ways that you're able to ensure that the product comes out in the quality section as well as it can against the affordability of the project?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that we've started implementing is basically we have a quality control checklist for each one of the trades. And
Mm,
so before one of our subcontractors walks on the job, we have what we call subcontractor expectation meeting, where we go through our quality checklist that says, here's what we expect as a finish for the drywall. We're expecting factory edge to factory edge. We're expecting all Durarock throughout the shower and bath area. The rest of the bathroom is all green board, and so we have it very much spelled out exactly what the expectations are before they finish, with pictures, of course, because like you said, visual cues are the best thing. And so for each one of the trades, framing, carpentry, plumbing,
mhm,
electrical, like we have it just spelled out of exactly what the expectation is for quality. And when we set that, there's not any questions when it comes to the end of the job of what the finish should be.
mhm. And I like too, the expectations is I would always say back in the day when I was training people on how to like do their first flip or whatever, I would say, look, if you don't set an expectation, there's nothing for you to hold them accountable to.
Yep,
So
exactly.
if you didn't tell them it's, you know, you didn't tell them it was green board in the rest of the room and they use regular, well, did you tell them that's what you wanted? And if you didn't, you can't say like, oh, rip it out on your own dime and put in the right stuff. Well, the right stuff would have been what you told me to put in when you set that expectation with me at the beginning, not now that it's up, taped, mudded, and painted. You know, that so really setting expectations early, I like that. It allows you the opportunity to enforce the expectations throughout the process. So, what are some challenges that you've had to deal with as you know, started this business and essentially running it and maintaining this thing?
Yeah, I mean, there's a plethora of challenges with general contracting. And I think the hardest part is always finding the right people, and
Mm-hmm.
vetting the subcontractors, getting them to show up when they say they're going to show up. And, that's probably the biggest challenge is finding the right team. And so, it takes time, right? Like we've went through contractors and had to fire them and get new people on the job. But I think that's the difference with, someone who's, like I said, running a business is like they're going to stand behind their work. Like we're not going anywhere. We've built up a decent brand here in Chicago. And at the end of the day, like we're not going to walk away. We have a motto of no ghosting. I can't
Mm-hmm.
count how many times we've met with clients and they, the horror stories that come up with not hearing back from general contractors. They've started the work, they can't
Took the
finish it.
deposit,
Yeah,
yeah.
the money's gone. They've already used it up. It's that type of stuff of vetting contractors and meeting them there on site. Like that's one of the ways we've really combated that is go to an existing site of that contractor and just look at their work and look
Mm-hmm.
them eye to eye. And just that kind of personal relationship goes a really long way in developing that kind of bond that you're looking for when you're doing business with someone.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So if people want to connect with your company, they want to find out more about you and your journey, what can they do? How do they find you?
Yeah, I mean, the best place is probably our website, qualitybuilders.com. And then we're all over the social medias, Instagram, TikTok, and our handle is Quality Builders Inc. That's Quality Builders Inc.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I really appreciate you stopping by, and I'm sure there's people in the Chicagoland area that need help fixing properties, as there's no limit to the number of properties that need fixing. There's new ones coming up every single day. So I really appreciate you stopping by, Jonathan.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Bryce.
No problem. And until next time, guys, we'll catch you on the next episode.
Hey there, I really hope you enjoyed that episode. And as always, if you want to listen to more daily interview content, make sure you subscribe. And if you're an active real estate investor and you're doing deals and you'd like to get featured on this show, then just head over to daveinterviewyou.com. Now at moneypartnerformula.com, we help real estate investors to create a process for predictably getting capital so they can do more deals without relying on hard money lenders or the banks. We do this by building them a private capital marketing system. Now, if you want help turning yourself into a big money capital attraction machine, then book a call with our team to see how we can help. Just visit moneypartnerformula.com to find out more. All right, take care, and we'll see you on the next interview.